Hey everyone, welcome back to What's the Point? I'm Mike. Today we have the top 5 reasons why you should not open a new personal credit card. Summarizing really quick, the first reason is it will increase your Chase 5 card limit for the past 24 months. 2 is that it's typical that cards won't more than break even with annual fees. Third is the Stealth 524, where you find that other banks such as Capital One, Barclays, Citibank, pretty much any of them except for Amex, I think for the most part, are they're sensitive to new accounts. And fifth is cards with no downgrade path and limit your flexibility. So let's dive into the first one. Chase 524 is, if you're not familiar with it, is an infamous rule in the credit card points and miles game that states unofficially, but pretty much officially, that if you have opened more than 5 personal lines of credit from any issuers within the past 24 months, they will deny you for new applications for any type of credit card, personal or business. Now, this only counts personal cards or cards that report to your credit bureaus. So check that out. For the most part, most business cards do not. And this is why, for me, I don't hesitate anywhere near as much with opening a business card because there are fewer repercussions, particularly in terms of your credit score and in terms of your ability to get approved for new cards elsewhere. Taking the one caveat that, many issuers still are sensitive to inquiries. And, there's all kinds of speculation with regards to, like I heard fellow creator Sledge was talking about the possibility that certain lenders, they're looking at your inquiries and seeing that no new lines of credit were opened and are maybe thinking that you're getting rejected. He wasn't talking about business cards, but it dawned on me, well, if you are opening a lot of business cards, then and they see a lot of inquiries, then that could potentially hurt you. I think those fall off a little bit faster. Probably 1 year, you're probably pretty safe as far as how they are included in these algorithms for auto approval. Whereas definitely for 2 years, it seems like there's an effect with most of the lenders. So the second reason that you might want to hesitate on pressing that apply button is lowering your credit score. When you have a new inquiry and you have a new account, the number of inquiries, hard pulls as they're called also, as well as the average age of accounts, decreasing because of opening new personal lines of credit, that can, at least in the short run, lower your credit score. And so you need to take a look really at what is your current credit score now. Use a free online tool. Most banks allow you to check your credit score for free. There's a lot of ways to do that. And just take a look and keep an eye on that. And have your bank or whatever service you use. Credit Karma is a good one to use for tracking all your different deposit and credit accounts. And it'll give you alerts. And so those alerts can tip you off to when there's a change in your credit report or status. For example, you see those alerts as soon as you apply for a new card. You should get them immediately once there's a hard pull. So that's really useful. So keep an eye on that and think carefully about how opening new personal cards in particular will lower your credit score. Not sufficiently looking at whether you are more than exceeding the annual fee reliably and easily each year. You often hear this term thrown around in these circles, effective annual fee, and I really want to challenge that notion of there being a universal agreed upon number because it's so case by case. And when you really truly factor in the opportunity cost of your time, money, and energy that could have been spent elsewhere instead of tracking these monthly credits, for example, not to mention the surcharges that you'll pay, the Uber credit, where you are, especially if you're using on an Uber Eats, you are paying a premium in terms of the prices that you get from restaurants, not to mention that time lost in tracking these credits, the risk of missing it, and the just the overall complexity that you're adding. So in other words, that $10, it's not really worth $10. Maybe you could make that argument, let's say, if you are putting all your spend on one card. And so you're like, well, I use Uber anyway, and I only have one credit card, so it goes on there and I use that credit and I don't have to think about it. But if you're like me or most people in this hobby, you have multiple cards, and therefore you do need to think about it. So don't lie to yourself. Keep yourself honest and always look through the hype. I know a lot of us are partly in this game in order to get referral bonuses, and I'll just leave it at that. So the third reason you might want to hesitate is the Stealth 524. And I'm really just starting to learn about this myself. But I'm starting to find out the hard way because I've opened so many new cards in the last couple of years that now my last couple applications to Barclays and Citibank were declined. And the reasons, it was pretty clear, even though they pad it with other ones to make it look like there's a whole bunch and to basically try to intimidate you. What it really boils down to, and from discussions I'm seeing on forums and other videos, is they are sensitive, especially to how many accounts have been opened within the last year, but probably the last 2. And so really it's, say what you will about Chase, but if you talk to one of their agents at reconsideration, they'll be pretty straightforward with you. It's pretty open secret at this point, even though they don't publish it 524. So in that way, it's more frustrating with Capital One and with Citi and Barclays, because they're all known to be very sensitive, but their algorithms are kind of a mystery. So, think about that opportunity cost of perhaps cards that are more obviously a keeper card for you, or are one that you might not keep for any different reason. So number 5, when a card does not have a downgrade path, then you really need to look at, are you going to keep this card open forever? Because if you're not, then you might want to think about, is it worth getting just the sign-up bonus? Because then you're putting yourself in a situation where you need to cancel the card if you don't want to pay that annual fee. And so when you cancel a card, it can have an effect on your credit score, especially when you're earlier on in your credit journey. You really want to be careful about closing accounts. And then later in your credit journey, or really at any point, for example, your oldest few accounts, you want to leave those open because of the positive impact on your credit score. And the more new accounts you open, the more credit score, all things equal, will decline. Even though having a mix of credit can increase your credit score, there's a lot to it. But when you keep adding on too many newer cards, the average age of your accounts goes down, and that is one measure. It's not the biggest measure, but it can have an effect. And so, I think you really need to take a good hard look at opening a personal card, unless there's an offer that's really too good to refuse, if it's not a card that you're planning on keeping. Thanks. I hope that was helpful. If this was useful for you, please like and subscribe and leave a comment below. We'd really like to hear from you and to hear, how do you find balance here? Again, what you're trying to do is, how do we make this hobby both fun, sustainable, and financially responsible in the long run? And so it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so, think about the pros and cons of opening any different account, and what other better card might be around the corner. That if you're just waiting a little bit, honor that hesitation. And if you think you want something, all else fails, use the 24-hour rule and say, okay, I want to apply. And now that I've made this decision, now you implement this 24-hour cool down period. Like, okay, I want to do this, but I'm going to wait 24 hours and just make sure I still want to do it tomorrow. That's all, guys. Peace.